Hey everyone, welcome this morning to a session I believe is going to be fantastic for those of you that are tuning into this live video. I'm very, very excited about it. I am going to probably give it about a 5-second pause. Not really a pause, just sort of a opportunity for those who would be just logging in to have a moment to, whether you're drinking coffee or you are waking up. This meeting is in all areas of the country. So I'm going to be courteous and generous and just give everyone a chance to hop on here, because I am getting a ton of text messages of people that are saying, hey, hang on, I'm getting to my computer. I got to turn on, I'm at the car, I'm parking the car. So I know how it is. So I will certainly give it about another 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, just to have a chance to see that all is well, okay? But I got to promise you, it's going to be a fantastic live session today. I'm very, very excited about what we're going to talk about. In fact, I've been having this conversation a lot recently with other people that I'm coaching, and different, some of you actually I've had a chance to talk to about this, and you are realizing the importance of this. And I want to share with you that it's going to probably be an eye-opening. In fact, I know it's going to be an eye-opening. And the value that you'll derive from this brief conversation is going to be fantastic for you. So we'll take 5 more seconds on that. Okay. All right. Anyhow, let's get started, because I'm jacked up and ready to go. By the way, isn't technology pretty cool? Here we're going live, and we're looking at all sorts of stuff here. That I'm here in Dallas, and I'm chatting with you guys live, and it's pretty awesome. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to be a part of this live and on the recorded version, as I'm sure to become available as soon as we hit the end the meeting session. But I wanted to share with you what I believe was one of the experiences that we go through. Now, by the way, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you are a business owner or a high achiever, someone who's pursuing peak performance, or even if you are somebody that is academically looking to do better, if you're an athlete, relationships, right? Relationships is the big one. You cannot escape rejection. Rejection is experience that we all have. It's going to be with us until the day we die. So the fact, the reality is you can't escape it. However, how can you become aware of where rejection starts? What is it that you can understand about the process, the anatomy of when somebody rejects an offer? They reject a proposal. They reject an invitation to watch something, whether it's a presentation or a video, or an invitation to go on a date, right? Whatever that invitation is, whatever that proposal, whatever that business that you are proposing, or what offer you're making, there's always going to be an element of rejection. Well, where does it come from? And I know that when you have a lot of rejection, it leads to frustration, it leads to discouragement. And, too much of frustration and too much of discouragement can knock anybody out, right? I mean, how much frustration and discouragement can a person take before they decide to throw in the towel and continuing to try things and continuing to develop that business or that relationship or that endeavor, right? No one stays at something that they get discouraged, depressed, begin to doubt if it's right for them. And a lot of that happens when there is a significant amount of rejection that you're experiencing to your offer, to your proposal. So today we're going to talk about how do you look at a rejection from a process standpoint. In other words, where does it come from, and how can you be able to identify what people go through in their mind when they're about to reject, so that you could be better at not only your proposition, but cut yourself some slack if you are beating yourself up because you are experiencing more rejection than you'd like. Now, as I said earlier, rejection is going to be part of life, but you can minimize the amount of rejection that you're getting when you are making a proposal, if you understand what is happening in the other person's mind who is rejecting your offer, okay? And this is going to be a lot of fun. I promise you, you want to have notes. You want to take notes on this. For those of you who are familiar with the way that I coach and train and provide these types of resources, I can talk pretty fast sometimes, and that's just because I get excited. So you have to make sure that you jot down these notes. Okay. Let me give you a few things though before we get started on this, so you really understand this idea of the anatomy of rejection. This is coming from 28 years of experience as an entrepreneur. Actually, no, I'm sorry, 35 years as an entrepreneur, experiencing the life of an entrepreneur. Ever since I was, a teenager, I was always involved in doing some things that put me in the front line of making proposals, making offers, making invitations to one way or another, right? To always a group of people or maybe an individual. I've lived my life that way, making propositions. So I do know what it is to experience rejection. And I also know how it feels to have rejection mitigated by what I can say. And I'm going to teach you how to do that today. Or probably a little bit maybe in the next session. We'll kind of take the first step today and develop it along the way. But that's where this content comes from. It also comes from professional and academic research. My wheelbarrow is in the way people think. So I can tell you that there's also an academic and more of a professional research approach to what I'm going to share with you. And then the last part of it is just conversations I have with you guys, conversations that I've had with thousands of people that over the last 35 years I've had a chance to work with or have a relationship with to some degree. And I get to hear the concerns. I get to hear what the experiences that you're having. So that's where all this content comes from. Now, I want to say three things. I want to point out three things, though, before we get into the 4 reasons why people will reject you. Okay. Now, you could probably come up with some more, and that's great. I'm talking about the 4 major reasons I believe, based on what I've just shared, has been my experience, and just conversations with people. But the 4 main reasons why rejection is stirred in the other person. But before I give you those 4, there's 3 times or 3 scenarios or 3 situations that rejection will become the prevalent response from another person. And I want to share these 3 before I get started with the other 4, because these 3, there's nothing you can control. There's certain times you're not going to be able to control when a person declines your offer. They just flat out say no. The first one is when a person is struggling with personal health issues. Either themselves are dealing with health issues, or they have a loved one that's dealing with health issues. You can almost guarantee that whatever you're proposing, that rejection will come for no other reason other than that person is focused on some very serious health issues that will not allow them to focus on whatever it is you're talking about. So you have to recognize that, okay? And don't get discouraged. Don't get bummed out. Don't take it to heart. Recognize that not everything will work out for another person the way you wish it would work out for you, okay? Number 2, that person is experiencing a very difficult financial situation. And sometimes people are not going to let you into what's going on with them financially, but it could be very, very devastating. So financially, that person could also reject you because of where they're at and where their mind is at currently. The third thing is that that person themselves may not be in the right frame of mind. You know, there's some instability there, and their ability to process information and have good cognitive abilities at that moment in time is lacking. So you don't want to take it to heart when you have someone who doesn't have the mental capabilities to recognize value. And we're going to talk about that in a few minutes here. But those are the 3 reasons: personal health, personal financial, and something's not going on right inside the mind. Okay, maybe some emotional issue, something else, or just mental instability. So you got that? But let me point one further thing out. Someone might say, well, rejection, I get rejected because the person says to me it's not the right time. And yeah, person who says to you it's not the right time, I'm not ready, that's not rejection. There's a difference between rejection and not ready. Rejection, not the right time. That person is telling you that if things were going right now the way I would want them to go, and whatever's happening in their life, they would be ready. They would not reject, they would accept. They would not reject, they would comply. But it's not the right time, and it is they're just not ready. That does not mean that's rejection, okay? It means come back later when things are better. Now, it's your job to come back later and follow up on that, which is where most people drop the ball, right? You just don't follow up to find out if the timing is right. But that's on you, and that's one of the things we'll talk about probably in the future, the power in follow-up. But that being said, let me give you the 4 reasons why I believe strongly people have will have a tendency to reject whatever you're proposing. Number 1, uncertainty. They're uncertain. Uncertainty conjures up feelings of lack of confidence, lack of assurity, lack of certainty in your product, in you as a competent person, in the company, in the establishment, in the environment. There's something they're not sure of. When somebody is uncertain about things, they put the pause button, don't they? I mean, isn't that what you do? How many people do you know agree to doing anything that they're uncertain about? Not too many. So a person will automatically go to the rejection button. They default to rejection. They default to declining when they are uncertain about you, your character, your level, your ability to be honest. Something you said didn't sit right with them, or your product, or again, the company, or the future they believe can happen with you. They're uncertain, right? So that's one of the areas that you've got to work on. And we'll talk about this in the next future sessions, guys. But if they decline, it's because they are uncertain. Something happened. They're not comfortable. Number 2, they perceive lack of value. They have a perception that there is not going to be any value here at all. That's the second reason that you'll have rejection conjure up in a person if they perceive that there is no gain. And by the way, make no mistake about it. When people judge value, here's what judging value means: that they walk away a little better than they were before they met you, before they had that service, that product, that date, that membership, that invitation. If people feel that they will be better off by agreeing with you or complying with you or accepting whatever you're proposing, whatever offer you're making, that is value in their eyes. And it doesn't have to be great value. It could be a little value, as long as it's more than before. You got that? That's when people will say generally, okay. When they perceive there'll be something I'm going to get from this, there'll be a gain. But lack of perceived value is going to conjure up rejection. 3, that person doesn't believe you're committed. They're going to question commitment. A person who begins to question commitment is also going to land at that rejection decision. Here's what I mean by that. If they don't believe you're going to be there in the long haul, if they don't believe you're going to be there to help them a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, or they believe the company's not solid or committed to them, or if they don't feel like you've got as much to lose as they do, that's going to put commitment in question. And people who don't feel like you're going to be there for the long haul, they don't think you're going to be in there when the tough times come, they're going to reject whatever offer you're making. I mean, think about this. The guy who's, and ladies, you relate to this, ladies. This is for the ladies, right? You got a guy who's good looking, man. He's a good looking guy. He's dressed sharp. Looks like he's got some cash, solid, stable, looks good, smells good, says everything right. You meet this guy, all of a sudden things are going well. And in the initial phase, you might even entertain going out to dinner with the guy. The guy seems pretty solid, right? Value, you could get some value, relationship maybe, right? This guy could be a good person in your life. But what happens after the initial conversation on the phone where you say, you know, this is probably not going to work out, or I'm not really interested, or I don't go to dinner, or you go to dinner, you spend some time with the guy, and all of a sudden you realize afterwards you let him down. You kind of give him the not the excuse, but the rationale that things aren't going right now in your life. Maybe you're busy, blah, blah, blah. You find something to say, right? What happened? Why did you reject his offer to continue to date? Maybe take you out again, maybe get your phone number. What happened? You perceived that this dude was in it for not in it for the long haul, right? This dude was in it for a hit and run kind of a job. And ladies, you know what I'm talking about. So you smelled that on him. It wasn't that he didn't look good. He looked good, right? He was dressed, looked nice, and he had car, in business or established, all the reasons in the world. He's certain of himself. He's got a good product himself, right? But what happened? Why did you say, no, reject his offer to date him again? You doubted somewhere in your mind, this brother's not going to be around. This brother is a player. And he's going to be quick to go once he gets what he wants, or maybe he's testing me out in a way that I'm just the next person in line, right? Commitment. When people question the commitment of the party making the offer, they're going to back off and reject. Let me give you the last one. Number 4. People will reject whatever you're proposing if it doesn't align with their internal identity. Now, let me show you what this means. And then, by the way, let me repeat that because you need to get that. People will reject whatever offer you're making if they perceive or they arrive at a place where it doesn't align with their internal identity. It doesn't matter if they perceive you or establish that you are a person of credibility. They're certain about you. So you've done a good job of eliminating uncertainty. You've done a good job of creating that perception of value, of gain. You got that? So check that off. They realize that you're committed. You're a good person. You're going to be around. Your company's going to be around. The product's going to be around. That house, it's all going to be around for the long haul. They can count on you. They can count on what they're going to accept to do with you. So all that's good. But it doesn't align with who they believe they are. It doesn't align with their perception of who they identify themselves to be. So they'll reject. Let me give an example of that. I'm in a business where I teach people, and I've been doing this for quite a while, the importance of financial education, saving money, putting money away, that kind of stuff. And I've dedicated the last 30 years now teaching people these very important life skills and concepts. But every now and then I do meet people, younger folks, who say to me when we talk about saving money and the importance of saving money for some future goals and future gain, maybe quality of life down the road in the future when they retire, whatever, right? And sometimes I get people that say to me, oh, I'm not going to live that long. Oh, I'm not worried about saving money for the future. I'm going to die soon. I'm not going to live that long. You're probably laughing because you either said that yourself or you've come across somebody who said such a foolish thing, right? Well, where does that come from? It's not that the person doesn't understand that saving money sacrificially with discipline is not a good thing. They understand it's a good thing, but they don't identify themselves as a saver. They identify themselves as a spender. These are the people that live for the weekend. And the idea that I have to be somebody that looks like that person who sacrificially puts money away every week or every month for something way down the road that I can't even imagine right now, that person does not identify themselves with that person who can see the future, saves for the future, is future-minded. That's not them. It's just not them. You see what I'm saying? Let's go another way. You talk to somebody who's health conscious about going to dinner in a place that is loaded with foods that are fat. Right? That person may say, listen, that's a good looking restaurant. They got a nice looking menu. I like the ambiance. The restaurant's good. It's got good ratings, but I don't want to go there. Why? It's something about the place where they feel, oh, I'm working so hard to keep my body in shape and eating right, and I'm going to go to this meal. This meal's going to have all sorts of junk food, fried food, fatty food. Right? And they say, no, thanks. I don't want to go there. Why? That offer to go to that restaurant didn't line up with who the person believes they are. Healthy, conscious about what they put in their mouth and working out and looking good and all that stuff. Do you see where I'm going with this? Right? Or let me give you another one. You make an offer to somebody about building a great life, about being an entrepreneur, sacrificing the weekends, sacrificing the evenings in order to have a better life in the future. And going the extra mile in terms of personal self-development and all good things, right? But that person says, nah, it ain't for me. No, I don't think I want to do that. Why? They identify themselves as and nothing wrong with it. It's neither here nor there. Hear me on this. Neither here nor there. But they identify themselves more as a employee, as a 9 to 5, as a structured person who needs stability in their life that from a job or status quo employment, right? The idea of being an entrepreneur, trying a business where there's a risk involved or having to do more than they're used to doing doesn't line up with who they are. It doesn't line up with their internal identity. They don't believe that's the person who they could become. They'll reject your offer. Powerful stuff, guys. Rejection comes from when a person feels uncertainty, perceived lack of value. They don't trust there'll be long-term commitment. And whatever you're offering doesn't line up with who they believe they are inside. It doesn't match up well with their internal identity. Now, can you do something about that? Yeah, you can. When I get back together with you guys in the next session, I'm going to give you what I believe is the formula for rejection degradation, meaning what can you do to lower the probability of being rejected? Now, as I said before, you're not going to hit it out of the park every single time. You're still going to have rejection at times. It's just part of life. But boy, if you could learn a few things that helps you pierce through the mind of the other person so you could eliminate that rejection wall that starts to creep up as somebody's getting to know you or listening to you and kind of checking out your offer. If you could figure out a way to bring that rejection wall down just by what you say and what you do, you'll have a lot more people comply with your request, your proposal, your offer. And in the end, if it's genuine, if it's honest, and if you're a good person, it'll benefit them anyway, right? Isn't that true? Okay. Guys, I want to invite you to keep checking back on these live sessions. I'm going to make it a habit to do one a week. I do get requests all the time, but with a busy schedule, it's tough to keep those commitments to one a week. But I'm going to do my best and continue a layer upon layer of topics of discussion like this. I hope you found value in this one. And if you have, by the way, can I ask you to share this video? Can I ask you to pass it on to somebody else? You know, you and I are just messengers. That's all we are. You get an idea, you pass it on to somebody else, it helps somebody else. I get an idea, I pass it on to you, you pass it on to somebody else, it helps somebody else. Listen to me very carefully. We are all cooperating components of a big picture, okay? So if you like the video, if you like this training, you know what you do? You hit share and tell your friend, hey, you got to listen to this. If you know somebody's struggling, they're getting discouraged because they're experiencing rejection too often, then you got to say, hey, you got to listen to what TheJayMaymi said, because he brought some things to the forefront that I didn't know, and very valuable stuff. I'm going to ask you also to follow me on my IG. My IG is at TheJayMaymi. Follow me there, and I got a bunch of good stuff on there. Go to my YouTube channel. I've got a bunch of videos on there. Just type in YouTube on the search engine on the YouTube, and go ahead and look me up. I've got a ton of great material on there as well. Make sure you subscribe, and that way you get all the new uploads. And also on Facebook. Find me on Facebook and friend me, and we'll be in touch, and we'll connect, and we'll have a lot of fun, guys. This is all about helping each other anyway, right? And finally, I want to encourage you to know that I've got coming up on August 16th, a very powerful live event called Battling Invisible Enemies. I'll take a second to plug that since I have your attention. I said earlier when I started this conversation that people struggle with discouragement, depression, disbelief, and so on and so forth. And too much rejection can stir the pot for that soup of discouragement, disillusion, disbelief, and stress, worry, anxiety, all that stuff that you can experience as a human being, but more so when you are an entrepreneur, a high achiever, peak performer, somebody who wants to live a better life, you're striving for more, right? You're going to experience that. We all have. And I know that. So I'm putting together a book. I'm in the middle of finishing up a book. It'll be available October 1st. My publisher just had a heart attack. October 1st. It's called Battling Invisible Enemies, and the enemies of discouragement, despair, doubt, disbelief, fear, worry, anxiety, pressure, right? The things we go through. Well, I'm going to do a special 90-minute workshop on that. It's sort of a prelude to the book. And that's going to be August 16th, Thursday, August 16th at 7 p.m. Central Time. If you're interested, hit me with a little message here, direct message me on Facebook, and just say, hey, Jay, send me the link. I'm going to probably put out the registration link pretty soon. It'll be live tomorrow. The registration link is www.TheJayMaymi.com, and the flyer, the information will be on there, so you have a chance to look at it and understand it. It's an event that I was holding in Vegas, but I'm going to make it available to everyone nationally. And I think you'll get a lot of value of it because we're going to continue to discuss the internal game, which is where the battle is won or lost. Okay. There's one thing to have skill development, and I believe in skill development, and I do a lot of coaching and training on that. But you could have all the skills in the world and be proficient and efficient to the max. But if you're not winning the inner game up here and the game in here, all the skill in the world is not going to give you a chance to win. It's like going to war with one arm tied behind your back. You're not going to be very effective in a battle if you have one arm tied behind your back. So I want you to make sure that you join me for that event. That's going to be August 16th at 7 p.m. Battling the invisible enemies. I'm going to give you some things that are going to help you win the battle. Okay? So appreciate you guys being on the live session today. Don't forget, share it, and we'll see you guys soon.